Welcome back, folks. Today is a very exciting day because we are going to be taking a look at the FujiFilm X-T4. I remember a little while ago using the X-T3 in one of Maddie's videos, and I was very impressed. So needless to say, when Fujifilm asked me if I wanted to try out the X-T4, you know I had to say yes. Let's take a look at some of these specs. Starting off with the sensor, we are looking at a 26.1 megapixel APS-C sensor, which is more than enough for what I'm looking for in a camera like this. Now, looking at the video specs, you can shoot up to 4K in 60 frames per second, but there is going to be a 1.8 times crop, but 24 frames per second in 4K will use your whole sensor. In 1080, you can do slow-mo up to 240 frames per second. Actually, while we're on the topic, one of my favorite things about Fujifilm cameras is actually that they give you the features to shoot in almost any common frame rate. Not only 23.96, but also 24, 25, 50. I just like that they make that easily accessible. The X-T4 also does come with in-body stabilization, so I'm curious to see how that performs. And I will be shooting with the 16 to 55 f2 lens. And in my opinion, for the sensor, this is the perfect focal range. Taking a look at the video codecs, you do have the option of shooting in H.265 as well as H.264. If you were shooting in H.265, you can do 10-bit in camera, and it is also capable of 422 10-bit through the HDMI output. This camera does have F-Log, but I'm personally more interested in the Eterna film simulation. If you're familiar with Fujifilm, you know that they have their own unique look, and honestly, I'm pretty excited to try it out. Why don't we call a friend and get filming? Also, it is currently minus 15 out there. It's been like this all week, but I gotta get this video done. We'll see how this turns out. These are my emergency winter socks. I only wear them on days like today when it is minus 15 outside. Remember when I said this coat was saving my life? I was talking about days like today. I look so silly. All right, we're back. Just a heads up, if you are looking for a full review, this is not the video. I had just enough time to try up the camera and see what I think about it. And more specifically, I am interested in the video capabilities of this camera. So let's talk about some first impressions. So being a mostly Canon user, it took me about a day of just playing around to get comfortable with the settings. It is quite the learning experience using a Fujifilm for the first time. That being said, there's actually a few things in the UI that I really like about this camera. For example, when you're shooting video, you select your resolution, you select your frame rate, and then you select your compression. It's very straightforward, it's very procedural, and I like it. They also enable you to use some more uncommon frame rates, which is pretty nice. For example, most cameras usually only let you shoot like 30, 23.976, and 59 or 60. This one gives you all of that plus 24, 25, and 50. On top of that, usually you can only shoot in 16:9 aspect ratio. This one also offers you that 17:9 ratio, which would be like your full 4K sensor. On top of that, you can also change your codec, either H.264 or H.265. I also appreciate the ability to shoot at 1/48 shutter speed rather than just 40 and 50. The reason being is that some lights have a flicker like this one, and the Fujifilm can actually sync perfectly where the Canons cannot. That alone, I think, might make my next camera a Fujifilm. But I got some more reasons for you. I'm not gonna lie, when I threw this on the computer and took a look at it, I was in love. I expected the 240 frames per second to be like some upscaled, mushy video, but it was not. It is a nice, crisp 1080. It's not like some weird upscale 1080. It looks really good. Taking a look at the colors, Fujifilm is very known for its unique colors. Whether they are very accurate or not, I think it looks very good. I mostly just shot in Eterna because in my opinion, it gives me best of both worlds, gives me an easy workflow, and I personally enjoy the colors. One mistake that I made with this camera is that I jumped right into F-Log and started shooting. Now, most cameras I've used that shoot in log, like the Canon RP or even my Red, on the display it shows you a Rec. 709 image, and they do that to help you expose. With the Fujifilm, you see the log profile. So I made the mistake of filming while the sun was setting, and I didn't really notice that my footage was getting completely underexposed. And when I put it on the computer, it just looked like flat, mushy noise because I was trying to pull back that information that I didn't realize I was losing. In this case, I was trying to film myself, so I wasn't really paying too much attention to the exposure information. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to shoot F-Log, make sure you know how to properly expose while looking at an F-Log screen. From that point on, I pretty much just shot in Eterna. In my opinion, it's kind of like this balance between like a C-Log and a Rec. 709, where Eterna feels very neutral, flat, but still has some nice color to it. I would say if you're shooting Eterna, you're probably still going to be putting in a little bit of work in color grading anyways. And that's where I feel like the two kind of relate. The 120 that comes out of this thing is incredible. I'm just going to let these clips speak for themselves. Honestly, that alone and the price of this thing might make this my next camera purchase. So the camera body alone, you're looking at $1,700 US, and you're getting 4K 60, 1080, 240, as well as 120. Do not sleep on this camera. Now, some other thoughts here. Yes, this is a crop sensor, but if you pair it with a lens like a 16-55, you're not really gonna feel that difference. For example, my Red Cinema camera is not full frame, it is a cropped Super 35 sensor. You don't necessarily need a full frame sensor for video. Now, I want to talk about the autofocus for a minute. Honestly, I thought it was great. If I wasn't filming in a snowstorm, I imagine that it would probably perform a little bit better, but there was a couple moments where it would just catch the snow in front of the subject. I haven't like gone into the settings and tried to like play around with it at all. This was just my experience, but honestly for autofocus, I think it did just fine. Oh, and another nice feature for those who are interested, there is dual SD card slots. Personally, doesn't really mean anything to me. I don't know. I mean, I get it, but I don't. I guess if you're shooting at like the 400 megabytes per second, the dual card slot can come in handy there as well. So I just did a quick low light test. You can see the amount of noise at each resolution here. 800, 1000, 1250, 1600, 2000, 2500, 3200. I'd say it's very usable at 2000 ISO, and anything after that, you're going to just be introducing more and more noise. All right, that's my first thoughts and opinions on the Fujifilm X-T4. Now I am in the market for a new mirrorless camera, and I think this one might be the one. Cool, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, and don't forget to stick around for the next one. Peace.